Wow, thank you, Max, for that excellent introduction. We purchased a sailboat of all places in Seattle, Washington, during COVID, which was the early type of things of Zoom. We purchased it really on Zoom, and then we went and saw it to find out that it was an excellent sailboat. And it was parked right next to the Sleepless in Seattle house on Lake Union, Washington. Now, the reason that's important is that we had to learn how to take this boat and sail her or operate her in a trafficked area. At that time, during the COVID era, everything was legal on Lake Union. The only thing that was not on Lake Union at that time were the seaplanes. The seaplanes had been, well, they couldn't fly very well in a small confined aircraft, so they weren't landing and taking off in Lake Union. But everything else was legal. The inner tubes with the rope attached to the floating cooler with the beer, the paddle boards, the fishing boats, and even yes, and even the multi-million-dollar yachts that you didn't want to hit, but they were there too. So we had to learn how to operate in this confined area in a way. And the final test of us getting to be able to exit Lake Union was we had to go get fuel. And that doesn't sound like too difficult. We do it every day with our cars. We just go down to the gas station and get fuel. But on Lake Union, there's only one gas station. It's a dock, and it's next to a bridge that our mast of our sailboat would not go under. So we're sitting there going down there and getting closer and closer to this bridge and more traffic. And my wife, Sherry, is operating the helm and she sits there and sees a spot on the dock to turn into. And I'm not really quite sure how we got on there without hitting the floating hot tub that had the wheel in the center that whoever had the control of the wheel is where they wanted to drive it. And they decided to park just right in front of our bow as we were parking. And it's like, we did not hit them. That's really good because the fuel they were looking for was more beer. So, say the least, we successfully decided that we're ready to go. We had found a permanent moorage over across the sound, over in Posebo, Washington, several miles west of Seattle. So that meant we had to do the next step. The next step was we had to go through bridges. We had to call ahead and get the bridges raised so that we could get under them. And then we had the locks, the Ballard locks. And we had at that time, you couldn't go look at them physically. All you could do is look at videos and you could stand afar and see, yeah, they're over there, over the hill there. And you couldn't really touch it or look at them very closely. So it was like going into a black hole. And then there was the railroad bridge after that. So we went, we planned, we got another couple to go with us because the Ballard locks, that was a challenge. We had been told that it could be a challenge to get through the Ballard locks. So we got everything together. We went through the first bridge, and there's two locks. There's a small lock and a big lock. Well, you don't want to go in the big lock. Nobody wants us. Do not go in the big lock. If they give you the option, do not go in the big lock. Wait until the little lock is available. So we were lucky. We got put into the little lock. And oh, and then they told us, don't worry about the railroad bridge. It's always up. It's always up. Well, as we went into the little lock, we secured our lines to the side of the lock so we could not float away. And the lock went down. We started looking, and that bridge, the railroad bridge was down. It was not up like everybody was telling us. It's never down. And lo and behold, when we came out of the lock, it started to raise very slowly. You'd be amazed how slow a bridge can raise when you're sitting there worried about how far it is before you hit it. So we successfully went out there and we went across that water and had a successful venture. And then a couple of days later, we decided to do a little sailing, motoring thing around Bainbridge Island. Well, that was a first experience in big water, big trouble, but we survived. And then I've been doing a lot of solo sailing because my wife, Sherry, is still working as a flight attendant, and it's difficult for her to get there. And over the years, I have been passed. Let me tell you, I've been passed by a whale. That's how slow I was going. He came, he put his big tail up and said hi and went back down. And then there was the thing that I was fearing, I had heard about, was the nuclear sub, that they are well supported with surface craft, and they put this, when the sub comes to the surface, they put craft around it and little ribs with machine guns on to make sure you stay away from said craft. And I survived that. And the instructor I had, he put some fear in me when I took that course. He says, avoid ferries. They're dangerous. And in fact, during our class, we saw one. We went the other direction because he was so scared of it. It's 2 miles away, but he was scared of it. So we went the opposite direction. Well, in the Puget Sound, I will tell you, if you're scared of ferries, container ships, cruise liners, submarines, and such, is probably not the place to be. So this year or last year, when maintenance came and I went back through to Seattle, through those locks, did my maintenance, came back out, went through the big lock, solo, mind you. And I came back across, and as I was going across back to Posebo, Washington, I realized that it was relaxing finally, that I had trusted my boat, that I'm out there in the Puget Sound with 4 to 5 foot waves, just cruising along without a worry, dealing with all the ships and everything else, and having a great time. So you're the captain of your life. Throw off those dock lines and go for it.
Thank you, Bruce.